Hey guys, welcome back to Ultimate S&S. So we're going to start this video off. We're going to talk about a release that just came from the UN Secretary General and Antonio Guterres. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, guys. My Spanish is very rusty since high school. But he released a press release talking about the real dangers that we're actually seeing, that before the end of 2022, we're going to be seeing famine-like events around the world that are increased from what we've seen in the past. They were already adding extra countries to the famine list at the beginning of this year, and they're expecting to add 12 more to that before the end of 2022. It says if something doesn't drastically happen here before the end of 2022 going into 2023, the cost of inflation is no longer going to be a big issue because there just isn't going to be anything available. The farmers and stuff, they're not able to get the fertilizers that they need. They're just basically buying what they can afford, and a lot of those produce that's going to be coming off will no longer be hitting the international market. They will stay more into a local area, the local zones, the states that they are in. So that's going to affect us greatly here in our own country and also countries abroad as well. So we need to understand that this is a really bad situation that's being made a lot worse with Russia and their incursion into the Ukraine. Right now, we're looking at, they said there's 30% of the world's population of fertilizer comes from those two areas, but we're also looking at other types of events that are happening because that's not going to be producing enough fertilizer to help the countries around the world. That there are countries that are now selling their own types of fertilizers. They're being sold out. We can't really get our hands on it within this country. There is a place up in Washington that has just reported in that they usually have these areas set aside that would have over 90,000 tons of fertilizer sitting, usually waiting to be bought, and these areas are completely empty. And they're saying it's not even their high-grade fertilizers that's usually used for commercial use. We're seeing the farmers of our communities around the country here in America where they're actually buying just stuff that we typically would use in our own yards and things, and the cost of that is not giving them the ability to buy the amount that they actually need. So when you buy in bulk, typically things run a little cheaper. When the bulk sales are no longer available, we're seeing this is going to impact us in our country. It's going to impact us in our stores. So for those who like to make their comments when we talk about, you need to get food now, understand even if you can't afford to go out and buy canned goods, to start stocking your shelves. There are some things you can do around the house to relieve some of those funds. So you can start growing your gardens. You can start raising your own, layers and things like that. You don't need roosters to be with your chickens. You can simply just get you some laying hens. You can do quail. There's a lot of different types of poultry that's out there that you can do to help ease the starvation that we're going to be feeling, that they are reporting is going to happen. Now, when we're talking about starvation, are we talking about a level event where, we are basically like some of these countries abroad where they have absolutely no food, they have absolutely no clean water? It could very easily happen in this country, especially out in the western states. They're already seeing water shortages. Those things are being rolled back in. They will start limiting the amount of water that you can use. They have done that in the past. They're talking about massive increases on that as well. Now, will that affect the people who have their Olympic-sized swimming pools and stuff like that? No, it's not going to affect them. Remember, they only take one bath a week anyways, what they like to all talk about, but they don't tell everybody about these Olympic-sized swimming pools that they have, and that's water that could actually be going to communities and stuff. What they need to do is they need to limit these swimming pools and stuff out west till they get this water crisis situated. They need to stop selling our water to other countries right now. They need to stop that. That should have stopped, 2 years ago. But understand that money fills their pocket. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. So it's up to you to make sure that your family is going to be provided for. And the best way to do that is to be investing in things that are going to help. Now, whether if it's buying bottled water and things like that, understand most of the plastics they try to say are food grade plastics. They aren't really food grade plastics. They're noticing that a lot of these bottles that water's kept in, they're supposed to be BPA free, but there's actually other chemicals that are used in that plastic as well. So those, I would not be looking at that for a long-term storage type of situation. Now, you can buy containers and pour that water into it if you want to fill up as much water as you need to, rain barrels and stuff. But if you're not getting rain, then you're not really going to be getting too much in that barrel unless you're just putting fresh potable water in there, which I would not recommend, at least at this stage. But if that is the only option you have, then that's what you're going to have to do. Um, it's important that when you're looking at what's happening with not just the fertilizer crisis, but also the food crisis that's abroad, we go into the stores and we're seeing empty shelves. When you go in and you're trying to buy canned foods, you're noticing that the price of the canned food has went up, and the size of the cans are actually reducing. They're getting shorter and they're getting narrower, which means that they're putting less food in there. You look at the net weights of what's in there, that's changing. You have to be careful with that net weight too, because a lot of times they will reduce the amount of actual solid foods that are in there and just increase the amount of water to keep it pretty close. So that's something to keep in mind as well. You're seeing packages that used to be filled to the brim now are about half, and then they call it settling. I can remember back when chips used to be filled to the top. Now you get about a half bag to, about 3/8 of a bag of potato chips. And they say that what happened is the product has settled. I don't believe that the product is settled. I think they're just loading it with less food. Or honestly, they changed the size of the packages, the material of the packages to make up those weights so that they can still charge you for a certain amount of food, even though most of it is actually packaging materials at this point. So something to think about. When you go out to the store, look around at what's happening. If you're seeing full shelves everywhere, make sure you comment in, because a lot of our subscribers are having problems finding the foods that they're wanting. And if they live in your area, maybe they're shopping at the wrong stores. But we also want to hear about what the size of it is. I mean, if you're coming up and say, oh, we got plenty of cans, but they're little bitty cans, that's not really, it's not really an investment option, in my opinion. Now, you can go online and you can order food from like Walmart.com and stuff and have it delivered straight to your door. And I think I'm going to start doing a lot of that myself, because the price of the gas that has come, I mean, it has just went through the roof out here. We're looking at just right at $5 a gallon for fuel still. And that's for our 83 octanes, 87 octanes, depending on the station you go to, your lower graded gasoline. Diesel prices and stuff, I keep a close eye on that. When that stuff finally gets back down below $5 a gallon, I'm going to be filling up my containers and stuff, making sure that the RV is topped off, make sure generators are topped off and things like that, and then buy diesel treatments. That way you can keep that fuel good. You're not going to put octane boosts in that because it is diesel. You will need cetane boost, and they have different things, different products that are out there. But if you're in question about it, then go to a parts house near you and tell them that you're wanting to store diesel long term, and they're going to show you the product that you need to do that. When it comes to gasoline, you can boost the octane, but a lot of that stuff has to remain oxygenated if it's going to be left at a long-term storage facility. So that's something else you're going to have to look at. Do you have the stuff at your house to be able to maintain that type of a stockpile? So if you don't have that type of stuff, then what you need to do is start looking at ways that you can expand upon solar. When you start getting into solar and wind and stuff, of course, a lot of the narrative around that is that's the way it needs to go. But now they're coming out where over in California, which is where a lot of the solar projects had started, they're talking that these panels actually have expiration dates, that they're realizing that now. And if you don't change those in those expiration dates, that they actually are forming some kind of a chemical that is starting to drip out of the panels and contaminate the ground. So do they care? I don't know. They're still pushing solar panels. That was an article. You can find that. As far as where these articles are found, guys, you can do quick Google searches. I recommend that you go to DuckDuckGo. You're going to get a little bit better of an option as far as the articles you're reading, and they're not just going to be one-sided. They are from all spectrums and all politics and stuff. But I try to stay away from political articles if I can and look at what the analysts are actually saying, the people that are reporting to the government heads and stuff, what's happening. And when you start looking into, when you start seeing things that are backed by what they call political science, then you want to stay away from a lot of that advice, because that's more of a politically driven science. If you get anything that is more of a social science, and again, political and social is the way it's been driven. You want to get into the hard-hitting facts of actual science, where they actually do the research and they can show you the research that's done. So I recommend that you check out some of those websites. Definitely DuckDuckGo. You can type in, just like you do on Google searches, you're going to find a lot of information, guys. You can even find it on Google, but you have to usually be about page 2 or 3, because the more popular mainstream outlets are going to be holding that. Now, when you do hear about some of the stuff from the mainstream media, it's usually as a clip note, and then they're going to kind of brush over it, and you're not going to hear much more about it. So when you read a topic or you hear about a topic on the news, you need to make sure that you do your due diligence and do your own research on it. And that's what I'm trying to help people be able to learn how to do their own searches and stuff. We used to come in and put all the links up to all the articles we would discuss, and basically, it comes down to a point of, if people aren't using those resources, I'm not going to continue to put the time into that. You can very quickly do your own research, which is what I recommend you doing. Don't just listen to what I'm saying, and don't just click on the links that I'm at, because there's so many different articles and so many different links you can take, and you can see. And I'll give you the information, like the inflation rates that have been going up. They're saying they're around 4.5 to 5% right now since the beginning of the year, and that was reported at the end of May. And now we're looking at an additional 9% add on to that by November. So you're looking at some very drastic numbers there, guys. I mean, anywhere from 11 to 13%. I try to take the articles I read and condense it in and take an average of that, and give you a average. It's going to be somewhere in the middle of that. But even at that, if you're looking at the low end of an 11% increase in food prices, that's insane. Most people cannot hardly afford grocery shopping as it is, and you're going to be looking at that going up even higher here in the near future. So one of the things that we do out here, for those who have watched the channel before, you know how we handle this. For those that are new, I recommend you hit the subscribe button and check out our playlist, because we have everything that's going to teach you how to do your gardens. Yes, you can plant your gardens in the summertime as well, and I'm not talking about going to the store and buying plants. I'm talking about putting seeds in the ground, and we discuss that stuff. And not only do we discuss it, but I show you where we have been keeping this garden going since right after the last frost. We have been keeping this garden producing, and it has basically been putting the food that we eat on our table, and the money that we were spending on groceries, we can now add that to prepping and better prepare for what's ahead, which is buying our food now. For those who say you shouldn't hoard food, if you want to go through life unprepared, that is your choice, but you should have enough common sense to realize that food prices are going up. You're not going to be able to continue to afford to eat in the way of life that you have now. So you can either prepare or you can starve at the end. And that's what it comes down to. Everybody has their own opinions and stuff, and people go, well, it's preppers that are causing the shortages. Preppers are not what's causing the shortage. The shortages are being caused by the increased prices of the fertilizer, the availability of fertilizer going down, the lack of food because we no longer have those fertilizers coming in. We can look at it from the workforce standpoint. People are tired of working for jobs that are going to just use you for a busy season, lay you off. Then every time you just about get caught up or ahead, you end up back at the bottom. Now in this state, I don't live in the other states, but here in Florida, if you go to sign up for unemployment, you have to do something beyond what they call real ID. Used to, you would have to show a copy of your driver's license and information like that. Now you have to have your face scanned. This is not a lie. Your face has to be scanned, and when it scans your face, that is part of the login process. It's checking retinas. It's also checking the structure of your face, and you need to keep those photos updated if you go from a beard to a non-beard for it to be able to recognize who you are, and that is a requirement for going into an unemployment situation. So people need to realize that this beast system that we've talked about in our other videos is coming to a head. It is coming. So if you don't believe me, call up the local unemployment board and see what's required, or just go into their unemployment.gov for your state, and it's going to show you the requirements that are there. I will not put my face on something that is going to be attached to my identity within the government. It's not a recommended idea. Of course, everyone sees my face on this channel. They already know who you are. But if you comply complicitly, then you're going to start to compromise with different beliefs in your life. So I highly recommend you do not compromise upon your beliefs, guys. But again, get food. Get as much food as you can. Don't stop stockpiling, guys. If you stockpile supplies, some different supplies other than food, I'd recommend is fresh water, water filters, good filtrations. I'm not talking about just a Brita filter that makes the water taste clean. I'm talking about actual water filters that are going to filter out microbes and stuff, that's going to make it so it's where you can drink your water. Basically, Sawyer's are one of the better filters you can get that's going to do that, but there's a lot of options out there. I'm not affiliated with those people. Those are just what I've seen that's good, and I try to stock up on some of that stuff because it could be a location where it gets too hot here before too long. Understand, when food availability goes down and people start starving, they are not going to just sit there and starve to death. They are going to be coming and raiding houses in the area. And typically inner city, while they devour themselves, they will start to move out into the more rural areas like where we're at. So be conscious and aware of what's happening around. Even now, you can see people going because they're realizing that there is an actual issue, and they're going out on their weekend drives, and they're basically doing scouting to see who's got what, who's raising chickens, who's doing gardens, and things like that. So be aware of that when you're out maneuvering around. Who's coming to your area? Are you seeing a lot of new faces and stuff? Perhaps it's just somebody visiting a neighbor, but perhaps it's somebody driving through trying to get a layout of what you've got. And at that point, you need to make your plans on how you're going to deal with those types of situations, guys. And that's something that I can't tell you how to do. It's going to depend upon your belief system on that. I have my own belief system on that, and I'm telling you, when it comes down to the world will not steal or kill anything else from me in this world again, ever. So, but that is what the world does, guys. They would have you believe that this narrative that the world is a safe place, that the world is a happy place. That has not been my experience in life. And right now we're seeing a lot of these new social type studies come out where they're saying that parents are messing up when they raise their children to be more aware of what's happening, because it teaches a child that the world is not a safe place. But these are the same people who want your kids confused about the difference between what is a man or what is a woman, or whatever, the different situations are. That is the same people that are doing that. And if they can keep your children confused and they can keep you confused, then they're going to do whatever they want to do, and you're not even going to see it happening. So time to wake up, guys. Open up your eyes. Get prepared. Don't stop prepping. That's my recommendation to you. If you don't have food stockpile, then you need to start now. Now, how much food should you stockpile? As much as you can afford without going bankrupt is my recommendation, because understand now, when you file bankruptcy and things, it's not like it used to be. If you stop paying credit cards, it's not like it used to be. A 1099 will be turned in on you to the IRS if you do not pay your credit cards. So these communities that are telling you just max out credit cards, you can always throw them away. That is not the truth of it. They will turn that in as a 1099-C, which then puts you crosshair of the IRS, and they will come in and they will take your stuff and they will lock you away. That is the reality of the situation. So be smart, be prepared, and everyone have a wonderful day.